So I've been practicing Ray Stasieczko.
That's pretty damn good. Ray Stasieczko. I don't think I could have said it better.
Hey,
and of course, I had 65 years to practice. You just had a couple of days, right?
Yeah. I've been watching you for 6 years, I think, something like that. So when was it you decided, to hell with all this employment and working for somebody else, I'm going to do my own thing and say what I like?
Well, I would tell you this. I'm pretty much unemployable in the corporate world, and I left the corporate world a long time ago. I've kind of been on my own doing different things. At one point, I had a copier dealership. At one point, I sold that and then bought into the guy that bought me for a little bit. I've done some crazy things over the years. Had some home runs, had some absolute disasters. But the end of the day with Ray really kind of came out on its own. It just kind of morphed, during a hiatus, I guess, if you will. After I left my friend Milton in Nashville, I was a CEO of an IT service company for about 2 years.
Okay.
When I left that, I decided, well, let me just figure out what I want to do, kind of thing. I was still young. I was 55 at that time. And so I was writing a lot on LinkedIn, and I was able to capitalize on some of that writing. I traveled around the world, gave different speeches at different venues, mainly in the Chinese marketplace for the toner people. They were intrigued by some of the things I was doing. RT Media took me to China a couple of different times. And I decided during COVID, what if I did videos? And if you go down on my YouTube channel all the way down, 1,600 videos to the very first one, it's just terrible.
My early stuff is the same.
Oh, shit, I was sitting in front of the computer and I had this, it was all right there, and I'm trying to read it. And, I call it a minute with Ray.
Right.
And basically I was taking all my Rayisms. I got tons of Rayisms out there, and I would share one of them and then, talk about a minute, how that Rayism came to birth, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, it expanded from there. I realized that the YouTube experts and the video experts of the day were really not going to the future. And I could really see where the future of content would be videos, and they wouldn't need to be a minute long or 2 minute longs or all the nonsense people tell you. No one's going to pay attention. I think people pay attention if you have something they want to hear.
Yeah.
But I also think that you have to bring a personality and uniqueness to it. And, when I looked at the industry's media and the analytical business of our industry, I thought, okay, this is just insane. I mean, literally zero competition for 50 plus years.
You had an open goal to go for, didn't you?
It was the most, I mean, if you think about our industry, all the OEMs have to fight to the death for business, with dealers. Dealers have to fight in the street for the business. Everybody's competing. And then we have this whole industry media and analysts. They collect money from everybody. They do absolutely nothing but copy and paste for the most part. And because they're trying to monetize everybody, which everybody will pay them, they're just it's all nonsense. They're not going to have any conflict. They're afraid to bring up anything. And I thought, well, hell, that's easy to disrupt. Just tell the damn truth and, put some personality to it. And you'll probably make a whole lot of people mad, but I think you'll make a whole lot of other people happy. And see if that works. And that's kind of where this all came about. Yeah. And, it was it's been fun. I mean, I start my 9th year in July. Yeah. So obviously it's working, but I think, it kind of like leaving Fuji, you have an intellect on what you were doing in the business. You understand the business, and it's easier to analyze something when you've actually been in it and play in the field. And a lot of these folks in the industry, let's be honest, they've never really done it. They've never owned a business. Or maybe they've never even, were managed by a P&L. They basically never sat across from a customer and did a lease, and they don't understand all these things. And whatever the OEMs or whatever their sponsor tells them, they'll just copy and paste and make it all look good. Yep. And I think it was ripe for disruption. And I've been saying in the last few episodes of the show that I'm glad to see guys like you coming into the market, because they need to be shaken up. And, there is a way to make money. We all have to make money. No one's doing shit for nothing. And I will tell you this, Mark, don't do this for nothing. So you have to figure out a way to bring some money to the table.
I've got to,
Yeah, I mean, it is, you just have to decide how you want to do that. What is your focus? Are you going to try
Mm.
to stay in that industrial print space, which is where you've lived?
Mm.
Do you want to expand into the broader industry? Do you want to be able to go and do maybe some keynotes at some of the industry events and things like that? But I will tell you this, whatever you do, don't get into this to please anybody except the audience you want to please.
Exactly. I went to see someone the other day. They said, we want you to help us tell our story about our business and how successful it is. And I said, don't look for me to make something that pleases you. Look for me to make something that pleases your customers and makes them want to come to you, because they're very different things.
Well, it is. I mean, our industry, first of all, our industry is full of wimpy people. And I say that with all due respect, but we have senior leaders that are in their 60s, in their 70s, that know when things are wrong, that know they should speak up, and they just sit in silence because they want to they want everybody to like them. Why can't we all get along and sing Kumbaya? And they're afraid if they say anything that's a little bit controversial, then someone's going to not like them. And I just think it's insanity.
Yeah.
And first of all, it's dishonest. And most importantly, how does that help? How does it help the industry's actors, especially the younger generation?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, if the younger generation, if everything they're hearing is filtered through a bunch of old people that are just trying to pacify until they retire, how in the hell does that help, the younger generation really shake shit up and change it? I think
you're hitting all my hot buttons. They're the kind of things that we've got to address, and nobody knows how to do it.
Well, I think we just need to be honest. I mean, everybody, they always go to the extreme. So the extreme for our industry is that nobody prints anything anymore and we all go broke.
Yeah. Okay,
that's not reality. The reality of our industry is it's in a massive decline. If you look at the industrial print space, it's a displacement growth. Yeah. And people are being fooled by this, and it's going to be a nightmare one day. But there is growth in industrial, but it has nothing to do with the substrate of paper. It has to do with substrates of everything else, because we can do marvelous things with inkjet technology, especially in the packaging. And I mean, your imagination is the limit.
Yeah.
But our industry is afraid to talk about the crisis that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the crisis that we're in right now is that we have a business printing environment that is falling off a cliff. I mean, we're down 30-40% in some markets, and that's where all the OEMs make all their money.
Mm-hmm.
And when that continues to constrict, then the OEMs are going to be pressured, and they're going to have to make decisions. Do we really need to be in this space? Do we need to figure out how to develop more in the business print so we capitalize on the decline? Do we need to? I mean, there's just so many things that we need to be talking about.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not.
So, Ray, it's hard to imagine a time when you weren't confident about everything. But when you started doing End of the Day with Ray, what was going through your head? Were you thinking, this is going to be great, I'm going to make this work? Or were you thinking, I'm really not sure whether this is going to take off or not? Was it a risk?
Well, first of all, I think that all businesses that you start, you have to have a passion for the belief in the business. But more importantly, I think you have to have some kind of a plan. And a lot of times people get into something without a plan. Mm-hmm. And so, to put more substance on the End of the Day with Ray platform. So prior to this, I was doing some consulting work with dealers, and I would show up and I could get some pretty good income from that, but it was brutal. It was a lot of damn work. I mean, I'd have to go to their facility. I would spend a week there on site, then maybe go home for a few days and go back for a week. And it was just, and you're going in there causing all kinds of disruptions. It was just a lot of work. COVID kind of stopped all that.
Yeah.
And so the business model was, how do I get more people to pay me less money, but give me the same net? And then how do I, if I'm going to monetize the channel, I don't want to do commercials. I don't want to do commercials every day. Yeah. So how do I bring information, content to the market that some people could benefit by the message?
Yeah.
And if they could benefit by the message, then maybe they'll support the channel. And that's really the model that I have. And so there are OEMs that work with me. There are suppliers that work with me and dealers that work with me. and they benefit from the overall message, or these are folks that don't mind controversy. They don't mind conflict. They understand you got to have progress, and progress is painful, but not everybody can do that. And then, once I started having people come to me and say, hey, we want to support the channel, then I knew, okay, well, it works. One person might be luck, two might be a little bit luckier, but when you start getting 3 or 4, then you got some. That's and then nice. You just, you got to keep delivering. But what I don't do is I don't look at the money or the money coming in and saying, oh, if I do this, am I going to lose the money?
Yes, that's a compromise, isn't it? Compromising your content. Yeah.
You cannot do that.
Yeah.
And, over the last 8 years, I've literally fired a sponsor or 2. So it's just, when you don't think that they're not going to fit in the context of what I want to talk about, even my sponsors have there's no editing.
I know. When I watch it, I can see there's no jump cuts or anything. You just free flow all the way through. Yeah.
So I don't want to, and I don't want the OEM. I don't call up an OEM and say, hey, I'm going to do your financials. What do you want me to talk about? I don't want to do that. And sometimes I'll be critical and somebody will say, well, why didn't you call them? Because I'm not going to call them. They call me. If I call them up, they're going to be in a conversation to try to convince me why I shouldn't do that. Now it becomes more of a conflict.
Yeah.
I'd rather just throw it out there. This is what I believe.
But you give them the right to reply if they asked, would you?
Oh yeah. Well, I brought it up. There are all these folks come on the show anytime they want. What's funny about that is, you look at the legacy media, I'll call them, of all the people that they talk to, who's the one that's never on their platform? And some of them have the naivety that they believe if I go on their platform, they're going to give me some kind of credibility. And I just kind of laugh a little bit about that, not to be arrogant, but give me a break. I mean, most of the media today, their exposure online is pretty limited. And that, you've heard the big news about Keypoint.
Yes.
So Keypoint's selling off, and I was looking at that whole business model, and you look at their YouTube channel, they got less than 400 subscribers. They've been doing it for years. Their total views are less than 50,000. And it wasn't, I didn't bring that up when I talked about them being acquired to be an asshole and throw them under the bus. I brought that up because to prove they don't care.
That's not their channel though, is it?
Throw it out on YouTube. Anybody, we don't really care because we're going to sell a BLI award to the OEM next quarter for $250,000. I mean, they don't care.
Yeah.
And so if you don't care, then how are you going to deliver something that's valuable to the customer? Because they're customers, not the dealers.
That's it.
They're I don't care what they say. And they could talk about being unbiased all they want. But as long as they're collecting, selling marketing awards, if you will, to OEMs, that's their business. That's how they monetize it. I mean, you'd have to be a complete idiot not to believe that.
Speaking of awards, Ray, has the End of the Day with Ray ever won an award?
No. I will say, full disclosure. So ENX magazine, they do the influencers thing, whatever it is. And I give most of the awards a bunch of shit. I think they're all nonsense. But the thing about the ENX award, which made it a little bit different, is you literally have to write to ENX magazine and say, my name is Ray, and I think Mark should be an influencer of the year because of this. Now, I could be the only one that wrote them a letter and said that, and they could pick you. Yeah. So, but it still comes from somebody has to say something,
Well, I've got an award for you, Ray.
Oh, look at that! Holy crap!
There's no expense has been spared. Yeah, I've even put a special label on it. Yeah, it took a long time to make that.
That is hysterical. Well,
so that's for being.
We will put that on the damn studio, man.
Well, I would post it to you, but the tariffs are so high.
Oh yeah, I would have to pay a lot to get it.
Maybe I'll send you a photo. It's actually not to disappoint, but it's actually my daughter's cheerleading award that I've repurposed. So it's we're saving the planet by recycling.
Well, I think that we should probably recycle all the awards in our industry.
That would be a good idea.
Shred them all up and make park benches out of them. Look, at the end of the day, we know that there's a place for the awards. I think the thing with the awards that really always got me irked was that people actually change behaviors based on these nonsensical awards because they want to win them. And more importantly, a lot of people believe in the merits. They believe there really merit to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they become insane in their thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we have a charity function here in the U.S. that gives out awards every year. And look, it's fantastic for charity. We should give money to charity. That's fantastic. But the awards are part of a charity event. And we get people win these things and they plaster that crap all over Yahoo Finance and they're putting it on their financials. When they go to, you know, when they're going to their earnings calls, we just won the so-and-so award for best executive of the year. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap.
I think you should do a press release about this, right? It's a big moment in history. Yeah.
Well, that is kind of fun. I will assure you it'd be the only damn award I'm ever going to win, I would imagine. But, you know, I do have fun with the awards. I do an annual awards roast, and these are the awards you don't want to win. And then the winners, you know, try not to win next year is kind of the point. But
yeah, and we need to see more of your dog on end of the day with Ray as well.
Well, I'm trying to do I guess I shouldn't say the word try, because if I tried hard enough, I'd already have done it. But I want to use AI more with the dog. Mm-hmm. And so I want the dog to be kind of like a sidekick and then have the dog actually talking. But it's just, you know, Sammy's a little bit hyper, and then he jumps off the damn chair and shit. And then I got to, you know, redo the whole thing. But I'm getting there, because I think, you know, the dog could say things that, you know, I might not be able to say because he's
there's not much left, is there?
But I think, you know, at the end of the day, Mark, it proves the point that, you know, we don't have to kiss everybody's ass to make a living in our industry, number one. And, you know, I don't know, it was probably a month ago, I was talking to the industries, mainly that upper middle management, that we're going to see a lot of rifts. I mean, I really expect the industry to constrict by 25% from where it was in 2024 by the end of 2028. That's huge in human capital. It's going to happen. Yeah. And we've already seen some major changes, and especially like look at Xerox, Lexmark come together. You can't have all those people. You got to make changes. Fujifilm's made some massive changes in their own environment. So depending on how these folks consolidate with each other, there's going to be a lot of middle managers that are not going to have a job. Yeah. And my point to them was that, you know, don't when you leave, don't get so excited that you're going to start your own business, because if you couldn't be an entrepreneur, you're never going to be an entrepreneur. And if you're the guy or gal that sat in your environment and sat on your ass and didn't do anything and just, hopefully nothing will change till I retire, I only got 4 more years left. Yeah. And if that's how you thought, then do yourself a favor and don't start your own business.
So to those of us crazy enough to try and start a new venture in the print industry, have you got one piece of a golden rule, a great piece of advice for anyone?
Don't be afraid to disrupt. Mm-hmm. You know, now, and if you're going to go into a whole nother vertical and just leave the print industry, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
If you're going to stay in our industry, what do we need? We don't need any more complacency. Mm-hmm. We don't need any more people with gray hair telling everybody what they want to hear. We need people that are going to shake shit up. And it shouldn't be just me. And we need more people that challenge people.
Yeah.
And I think if we do that, especially people that are in the space that have been visiting with customers that work for an OEM, and they come in and they can share those stories and they understand the pains and the rewards that went with it. But more importantly, they're going to understand how to help navigate the industry. And because they are not restricted by worrying about their boss firing them,
that's it.
Just be your damn self, because what do you got to lose?
Yeah, that exactly is it. Yeah.
Well, you know, look, at the end of the day, when I started this thing, and I was like 55 years old, almost 56 years old, I didn't give a shit. And so it wasn't like I knew I was not employable to go work in a company. I've been on my own too long. And I was going to do what I was going to do. And I was going to be disruptive. I was going to take it to section extreme, because I wanted to shake things up and I wanted to get people's attention. And you know, I always tell people, the end of the day with Ray is a show. It's about a personality. It's about a venue where people go and are going to hear something they probably wouldn't hear from somebody else.
Yeah.
But it also has to be truthful. I'm not going to just make stuff up.
No.
It also has to, you got to do the research and do the work that goes with it.
Mm.
But if you're willing to do those things, you'd be successful at whatever you do. But the industry, work harder than the other analysts.
Not hard.
Think about what the other analysts aren't doing that you might be able to do or do better than the ones that are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't be afraid to do it, regardless of what the critics will say.
Yeah.
And, if you do something stupid, the good news is you could be on one of my episodes called WTF Print Industry News. And I could pull up your podcast and say, I can't believe you said this, Mark. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. And, then but we'll still be friends.
We'll still, of course. Yeah. No, I appreciate it, Ray. I love the content that you do. I don't agree with it all, but it's always entertaining and it's always challenging. And
well, we want to challenge.
If that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, you have to have
what you're looking for. You've done it.
People want to be able to, what are you trying to accomplish? I do like your segment where you're talking to folks that have left the industry and they're doing their own thing. I mean, that's kind of important. You'll get a lot of different stories on that. But I think, the underlying, I guess, component to all of them is that you have to make the decision that this is what you want to do. And if you think in your mind that, hey, if something happens to me, I want to do that too. Mm-hmm. Well, then you start shaking shit up where you're at. And you shouldn't be afraid to get fired. Mm-hmm. Because, being an entrepreneur, you could get fired every single day.
That's it. And then you give yourself the job back the next morning.
And then you figure out how to keep going and, change it.
Brilliant.
But anyway.
Thank you. That's invaluable. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Good stuff.
Yeah.